Welcome to the G-Spot.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I don't know if anybody else would have been able to hear that, but in the background was the sound of your washing machine, so it sounded like you was on a giant dildo.
Give me a second, I'll close the door over.
Oh, love it. I love it. What a plan comes together. Okay, everybody, welcome to Dynamic GT League's G-Spot. I'm just going to take a drink.
I am back.
Okay, so at the time of recording this, me and Ray have just done the commentary. So I think this will be coming out on Monday. So anything that has been placed in the reports or anything like that isn't going to be on this G-Spot. We may review it on next week's. There's only a couple of things I really want to have a look at on this G-Spot, so it might not be the longest of videos, but then these don't have to be. And the first thing I want to sort of talk about is a situation that doesn't happen very often in DGT League, and that is when cars end up a lap down. So what we'll do is we'll show a bit of footage and then we'll have a chat about it. So I'll give me and Ray a little countdown to watching the video clips in 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, so G1, race 1, blue flag. And I got my audio playing. We're on board with Hay. Hay, don't take this personally, it's not a bad thing. Hay is a lap down behind Jason, and if we were thinking about is a driver within fair range to potentially overtake, you'd say that Hay is really, I mean, I would say at this point Hay is within fair range to attempt an overtake, but fair play to Hay, he isn't forcing an overtake here. He's in a lap down situation and he's being cautious. Now here again, it looks like he could go for the move, and Jason may think he's going for the move, but Hay doesn't. Now some people may look at this and go, well, why is he looking up the inside if he's not going for the move? Well, this is something that I noticed that I want to mention about, because I think it's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. So on this occasion, Hay has got the run on Jason, but again perhaps feels that it wouldn't be a safe attempt at passing him. This time though, he's clearly got the run on him way before the corner, way before the braking zone gets the move done. Here though, with Demon R, this is the one I saw on the video, pulls to the inside, potentially looking for the move, but he isn't, and he backs out and tucks in behind. Lap later, Hay waits for the main straight, or the same lap but a little later on, waits for the main straight, makes the move. So my comments about this one would be, and there is a reason why I want to mention this, is that I know Demon R, that's me, at the time of Hay being up the inside, or looking like he was going up the inside, Demon R did say, go on Hay, you can go past. Now Hay did immediately say, no, it's okay, I'm just waiting, I waited behind Jason for ages, it's okay, no problem. But it did make me wonder, so why was he looking up the inside then? Because it did make me think he was looking for being able to come past. So again, Hay, don't take it personal, it's not a bad thing, I just wanted to know what had happened. And what I actually think it is tell you what, I'll ask you, Ray, what do you think it might be?
Maybe he's going just putting himself in your mirrors and then making sure that he doesn't go into the back of you.
Exactly. I think he was making sure he was not going into the back of Jason, and he was not going into the back of Demon R. And that's one reason why I wanted to look at it, you see, because I wanted, is he going for the move? I wasn't. And having seen it, I was like, no, you know what? I think he's just trying to make sure that he does not hit the back of another car. Because at the end of the day, we know, hey, we know that in that situation, the last thing he wants to do is hit the car ahead of him. So, by being up the inside, he's given himself the opportunity to see the corner, see the road. Driver ahead can see him in his mirrors. But also, if they happen to brake more than he's expecting, he's not going to hit the back of them. So, for me, I want to commend Hay on conducting himself brilliantly behind lead cars, waiting for the right moment. He had a couple of opportunities with Jason where he could have gone for it. Fair play, he decided not to. Now, in both situations, Jason and Demon R, they both did the right things, which was they took the corners as if Hay wasn't there, because that is what you would expect the car ahead to do. And that is where a car that is in that situation as the lapped down car, it's why we would say wait till a straight. You will have so much more speed on a straight, you don't need to attempt getting past at a corner. It also avoids any chance of contact. But the reason I wanted to put it on video for everybody to see is because if it happens again, or if it had happened to somebody else and they wondered what Hay or somebody else might be doing, there is a good chance that they are just trying to make sure that they do not hit the back of you. And that's the reason why I brought this one to attention. Any thoughts on that, Ray?
Nah, perfectly. Well, how I've seen it as well.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I've mentioned during the commentary, which was a day ago, in the YouTube world, was what cars should do in a blue flag situation when the lead cars are behind them. We had a situation a couple of times during the race where I think Rich was ahead of the leaders, Bunzel was ahead of the leaders, and there was a point where Conrad was as well. Now, with Rich Blues, I think he came out of the pits. I can't remember if he came out of the pits or not. But anyway, he found himself ahead of the leaders by a couple of seconds. Now, again, in that situation, I haven't got footage of it because there's not much to show. But in that situation, Rich Blues was far enough ahead that he could just keep going and try and open up that gap. With the boost he'd got, even if he's not really fast in the corners, he still has an opportunity to pull away. That's why we have the boost. There came a point where Rich, I believe, commented and sort of said, should I let you past? Am I in the way? And I know I said to Rich, I was in second behind Steve F1, and it wasn't really for me to say. It probably should have been Steve F1 that said, no, you're all right where you are at the moment, or yes, get out of the way. But I did answer because I know that I was harassing Steve like mad, and Steve was concentrating. And I said to Rich, it's okay, keep going, you're all right as you are, because he was far enough ahead that it was having zero effect on Steve F1. Unfortunately for Rich, as soon as we said that, he then lost it at the next corner, and we went past it. But Rich was unsure.
Well, he out the way, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he got out. But I think in that situation, Rich was unsure whether he was far enough ahead to just keep going or not. And I suppose in some respects it's difficult to put a specific gap distance on it. See, because I don't think you couldn't do it by time, because it depends on the corners, the track. Because 1 second at 200 mile an hour is very different to 1 second at 50 mile an hour. That distance covered is massive. But I don't know how we could put a margin on it, but I don't know, is it something we would need to look into? It's something that doesn't happen very often. I don't know what you think, Ray.
Just if you feel that the lead car is close enough that you may, a couple of seconds to a second, yeah, it's different between cars, but if you feel that you're going to obstruct the leading car, then use your common sense.
Well, I suppose one way to potentially think about it is, okay, not many people might know this, but I do happen to know. So I'll ask you a question. Do you know how far ahead of a car you need to be so that they don't get your slipstream?
And these cars,
Yeah, in these cars.
so like 8/10ths or something.
It's anything under a second, they get slipstream. Anything over a second, they don't get slipstream. Now, you could say, yeah, well, what about boost? Well, yes, boost has an effect, but if you're in last place ahead of the leader ain't got boost. So if he isn't within 1 second of the car ahead, he ain't getting no slipstream. Okay, so if you come out of, let's say for example, I was ahead of you, Ray. I'm a lap down, or about to be a lap down. I'm ahead of you, coming out of the final corner, right, at Laguna Seca. As I'm on the throttle, I look at the gap and go, okay, you're just over a second behind me. I think you're not going to get any slipstream. I've got boost. I'm going to power down this straight, pull away from you. By the time I get to the next corner, I should be a couple of seconds ahead of you. If when I get to the first corner, you're right up my chuff, I'm out of the way. I've got to be. But I'd have to be prepared to do that way before the braking point. Okay? So it's not a dead cert, but if I'm over a second ahead of you, you ain't getting any slipstream off me. If you're under a second behind me, you're close enough to get my slipstream, which means you could potentially catch me up a little bit on the straight. I'd probably be thinking about moving out of the way there, just because of how close you would be. So it's not an easy one to give a direct answer of what gap it should be, but yeah. Maybe I should have shown the video footage of Rich, because Rich was a good 2-3 seconds on the road, I think. So it would have been safe, but yeah, it's a tricky one.
Just if you feel you're going to hinder the leading car, then I'd be like, I'll get out the way. But if you're 2 or 3 seconds up the road, you're not hindering them unless you make a mistake and they're right on you.
Well, then, that's a good question. That would be a good question. Okay, you're 2-3 seconds up the road ahead of me. I'm catching you up. You make a mistake. You hit the sausage at Glory's. You spin. You take me out. You bastard. Why didn't you get out of the way?
Because I was 3 seconds up at the time.
But I'm catching you. You're a lap down. Why don't you just get out of my way?
Because you weren't in, what's the word you use? Fuck.
Well, I use that one a lot, yeah.
Within fair range.
That is true, yeah.
At the time of my crash.
As annoying as it would be if that scenario happened, and as I could fully understand somebody, if that did happen to me, I would be fucking pissed. I've no idea how I would react in the heat of the moment, but I think once I'd calmed down, I would realise, look, they just made a mistake. They didn't do anything on purpose. They couldn't control it. There's nothing they could have. It's not like they've done the curse. It's not like they've gone, you're doing well, and then you binned it. It's not the same. Shit happens, and unfortunately that would be one of those situations where that is what would happen. Actually, you know what? So when
there's a lap car in front of leaders, we can say to the lap car, "You're doing well."
Yeah, well, that's one way to twist the knife, isn't it? Jesus, not only are you cursing them, but they're really not doing well either. But yeah, I mean, what I will say, if anybody has any questions about the blue flag situation or anything like that, feel free to let us know.
Send it to the page.
Exactly. I will mention as well, though, for anyone that wonders why we haven't got blue flags waving on screen, it is because we have got the flags turned off because they do cause other issues, i.e.
penalties that you shouldn't really get.
Yeah. was something else as well, ghosting, and different things like. Problem with qualifying. That's right. It was giving penalties in qualifying if somebody had a bit of a yellow flag moment. It was causing lots of problems. It's just easy to have it without. There we go.
Especially when they've got their own stewarding system in place.
The other thing we had as well, I think we had yellow flags continuously waving at times, didn't we? And obviously, if that ends up being a blue flag or something, you don't need that waving all the time. Also, as daft it might sound, I'd rather people be looking at where they're going in their radar rather than what flags are flashing and what for, especially if it's for something that shouldn't exist. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to comment. It is not a direct science as to sort of gaps, but if the lead cars are within fair range, you should definitely be out of the way. But do it safely. If you're in that blue flag situation, do it safely, in a safe place. On a straight is better. And if you slow down on the racing line or brake on the racing line, you don't want to be doing that. It's much better to let someone pass on the exit of a corner or sort of where it's clearly obvious. Anyway, right, shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, we can do.
Okay, let's get us a little bit of a countdown then. 3, 2, 1, G-Spot, go. Okay, G2, Rich. Blindsided. So we said that we saw something happen with Rich on the main straight. He's up behind Art Powell here, got a decent run, he's within fair range, and all of a sudden there's a car there and Rich is into the back of it. So what happened? Well, Jimmy, a young man, comes round dries, gets on the gravel, tries to save it, can't save it, spins across the road, manages to stop it. Hagen Doom's there, reverses and goes into the pits. Unfortunately though, that has then reset him on the start-finish straight, ghosted in front of Rich, and somehow Rich has made contact with him even though Jimmy is ghosted, which is a bit of a concern. So Jimmy's he's made a mistake here, he's lost control of the car. Can't blame him for the contact with Hay there, nothing he can do. I actually couldn't blame him for reversing across the track there, but unfortunately it has resulted in him being reset to the start finish. So I want to sort of touch on why I said I don't blame him for reversing across the track there. Number one, having spun where he did and where he ended up to get going again, best thing he can do is reverse to get going again. And having done so, I can fully understand why Jimmy has then gone, the pits are hit there, I'll drive in. In hindsight though, what he needed to do was not go in the pits and go round the lap. Unfortunately for Jimmy, he clearly was not aware of a situation that occurs at this track, which we found out with Jason a couple of weeks ago. Quite a few of us were aware of it, I'm sure we mentioned it on a video somewhere. I can't remember exactly, I think we mentioned it, I talked about it in the chat, that if you have an off before the final corner and you cut across the pit entry V, like between racetrack and pit lane, and drive into the pits, it resets you on the start finish line a lap down. You then need to complete a full lap, I believe, to then be able to pit. Now I think on this occasion actually, I think Jimmy may have been able to drive round, go straight into the pits and get tyres again, but by the time he's come out of the pits, he was 2.5 minutes behind the leader, which means he's 2 laps down. He would have had no idea why it's reset him on the start-finish straight, and it's put him right in front of cars coming down the main straight, resulting in a massive crash with Rich. So we mentioned a minute ago, Ray, about what if the leader was behind a car and they spun and there was a crash, blah blah blah. Could you blame Jimmy for this one?
I don't know. I could find reasons to, but
Well, yeah.
honestly, no, he didn't know it was going to do that to him. Don't think many would have known it was going to do that to him.
Rich definitely didn't. He hadn't. The only thing Rich knew
Plus,
was
the car was the car was ghosted. So how the contact became there is unknown to us.
Yeah, same. I mean, I can't understand why it resets them at the start finish. I've not seen it do that to other tracks. I've seen it reset them on the straight or the corner after the pit entry. The only thing I could think is maybe it resets them at the start finish so that they can't try getting in the pits again and they have to go all the way around to then get in the pits. But why reset it right in the middle of the road? I mean, if it was over to the right hand side of the track, it still wouldn't be great, but at least it would be off the racing line. Whereas where it was, if you got two cars side by side, one of them's nailing. But I mean, I'm like you. There are things I could say, well, he deserves a penalty for a questionable pit entry. But he had no control over where his car ended up. Now, that's slightly different to when somebody has a crash and spins. They may not be in control of where their car ends up in that scenario. But Jimmy hasn't crashed and spun and ended up like driving the wrong way down a road. He's had a crash, he's had a spin, he's recovered the car, he's driven into the pits and been morphed onto the start finish. I don't think I could penalise him for that. As harsh as Rich may think, no, give him a penalty. Given the scenario, I couldn't. But it would have been handy had Jimmy known what the scenario was, because if he'd have known when he reversed, he wouldn't have tried going in the pits.
Yeah.
I mean, something I've seen before in practice sessions as well is somebody have a crash near pit entry and just beyond pit entry, and they've backed up a bit on the road to get into the pits. I will say that is a massive no-no. You should never ever do that anyway, or even not just reverse, turn the wrong way to get in the pits. You should never do that. But also, if you do, chances are you're going to get reset, so you might as well just carry on, do another lap, go into the pits properly. It'll make all the difference. Now, I do know as well that I think in one of the practice sessions, I think I might have tested it actually, at Laguna Seca, cutting across the pit entry without a spin or a crash or anything like that still caused a reset to the start finish. So yeah, I think in this scenario, because I mean at the moment we don't impose pit lane penalties or anything like that, or pit lane rules, so we will see people making a late turn into the pits on occasion. And some may say, well, what's the difference? I've seen people do late pit entries and nothing has happened. Why is it different to this? I think the difference is the ground. If when you're going into the pits you are on racetrack into pit lane tarmac, you might be okay. But if you're going racetrack over dirt or over grass or over gravel or over curb into pit lane, that may be where it differs. So, for example, Brazil, you can do a late entry at Brazil and cut in late on the white line, but if you go over the actual green tarm or blue tarmac area, you might get reset. It's just a thing, anyway. Right? Yeah. Was there anything else?
Or could it be because he went into the pits after the solid white line across the pit lane? That's something admins could check.
Maybe. I mean, there is a simple way of avoiding it, and that is if you have a dodgy pit entry, don't go for
Don't
this.
do it. Don't go for it.
Yeah, but I will say thank you, Jimmy, for giving us another dodgy pit entry to put on the G-Spot. It's definitely become a feature. Question of
Yeah, we've had Twilight's, Noobering. How many times did it take him?
Yeah.
And we've had Jason's. Now we get Jimmy's. Who's next?
Well, Jimmy's had a few, hasn't he? He crashed going into the pits and ended up reversing down the pit lane and got reset. And then
And Steve F1. Remember his one?
2 into the pit walls at Autopolis, yeah.
And he was on reverse on the way out.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah. Gary, I think he had we got Hay put into the pits, and we had Gary with the one as well. And the thing is, the next track, Tokyo, that could end up with we could end up with cars in the pits there that don't want to be in the pits.
We'll be changing it from the G-Spot to the G-Pit.
Yeah. Right, okay, I don't think there's anything else I really need to mention on this, but as we'll say, as we did before, if anybody has any questions that you want us to cover in the G-Spot, it is a place that we can try and talk about stuff. Also, I mean, this is something for the admins to think of. Let's say, for example, if a driver doesn't want to put a report in but wants to ask for a clarification on something, that may be something we can cover in the G-Spot as well. So I know, for example, I've had a driver message me saying something happened on so-and-so lap of the race, could you have a look at it for me to see if what I think happened. And I've looked and gone, no, this is what's really happened, blah, blah, blah. Now, I didn't offer to put it on the G-Spot, which is why it's not on here. But in future, I may do that and say...
send it to the page.
Yeah, send it to the page and we'll put it on the G-Spot. But it's one of those things where, okay, this person, I don't want to give names because there's nothing in it, but this person thought somebody else had forced them off the track. Having looked at it, that's not quite what happened, and there's nothing really in it. But it's about, as we've mentioned before, about people's perspective of what happened at the time. He thought he'd been pushed off, being able to see our opinion on it. I mean, he's accepted my description of my basic description of what happened. But being able to see it would just sort of emphasise that, and for other people as well. But yeah, so feel free to send your questions or anything like that, or anything you want to cover. Maybe we can do who has the worst start of the race, who loses the most places off the grid. I think Mitch went from 4th to 9th for this week, so at the moment that's one to beat. Right, if there's nothing else, Ray, I think we're done.
I've always said the best from 14th to 2nd.
You know what? I wish we still had the foot. That would be a G-Spot special. That would. We've never raced on that track since, you know.
I wonder why.
Right. I'll tell you what, we'll give some extra information as well a little bit. GT7 is still not ready for leagues or anything like that. So any of the drivers that are worrying about getting the game, don't panic, don't rush, don't break the bank, get in the game, take your time. There is no rush. The Formula Icons Cup will obviously we'll be completing this. We've got the Super Formula after that, and there are plans in place for championships after that. If GT7 and our drivers are still not ready, so don't panic. Hopefully information will come out pretty quickly about the Super Formula Championship and then what will happen after that as well. But I'm not going to give out too much at the moment because when things change. But yeah, don't forget as well, on GT7, once you get the game, you're going to have to play it for a good 2 to 4 hours just to be able to unlock the multiplayer mode, and the game is going to stress you out. Keep calm, stick with it. It's just
almost stresses you out if it's like you, Steve F1 and SGP go for gold. Just go for bronze.
Go. Okay, true. I mean, I did mention that on my YouTube video the other day. You don't have to go for gold. As long as you get bronze, you can progress to the next thing, the next license. But if you feel compelled to go for gold, or you're frustrated that the cars are spinning, it is trying to teach you how it wants to be driven, and it is different. I have spun cars at such slow speeds that it is very annoying. But it's simple things like, and to be fair, I think it's just exaggerated on some of the stuff we've taught before, Ray. A bit like there's brake weight shift. Well, I've talked about before. You hit the brakes, you wait a moment, do your downshifts, then you do your steering. If you do that, you'll be okay. And also, if you're going to put the throttle on, your steering should come off. Now on GT Sport, that's what I sort of say. If your throttle's going on, bring your steering off. On GT7, if your throttle's going on, your steering better be fucking straight, mate, because if it ain't, you're fucking spinning.
Baby, right round, baby.
Right. Like GT7, baby. And also on the licenses, you have base cars with crap tyres, no setup. They're tricky. It does get better. Anyway, right, this isn't a GT7 promo video. So I think we're done, Ray, and just in plenty of time to go and watch the F1.
Yep.
Right, thank you very much for joining us on the G-Spot. Have a good week, everybody, and join Dynamic GT League on Sunday, 8 o'clock for Race 2 of the Formula Icons Cup, otherwise known as...
I like how you've set up and this is going to come out after it.
No, this will come out before Race 2.
Well, Race 2, right. Okay.
Get your hearing checked. Louder.
I never heard this.
Louder.
Right.
Louder.
Yeah.
Right, have a good one, everybody. Thank you, Ray. And we'll see you all again soon.